According to my dad, everybody who drives faster than him is a boy racer who should be banned from the road. Everybody who drives slower than him is a doddering old fool that should get out of the way and not be on the road at all. It says it in jest, but it kind of sums up our attitude to sin and to wrong in other people. You know, what is sin? Well, it's all the things that are worse than anything I do. That's real sin. What sin needs punishing? Well, all the things that I don't do. It's all the things that people worse than me do. They're the things that need punishing. I'm not a bad person. It's only people who do worse things than me who are truly wicked and who deserve punishment. Which brings us to a little bit of a question about God. And what kind of God do we want? And one of the things that I think all of us want from God is justice. We want God to deal with sin. We want God to deal with sin because of all the things we see in the world that are causing people so much pain. We look around the world, we see children being abused. We see people being tortured and ill-treated. We see people who make money out of other people's misery. And we hope that one day a God of justice will turn up and show himself to be the God who punishes sin, their sin, because they're worse than me. Of course, the things that I do can all be justified. They don't deserve punishment. It's the things that they do which we want punishing. And we believe if God were to turn up and just rid the world of all of those kind of things, well, the world would be a much better place. And we'd all live a lot happier and there'd be a lot more peace and harmony in the world. Think what would happen. Imagine God turned up and just dealt with those kind of things that we think of maybe as the most serious. Imagine God dealt with all of that and got that out of the way. Well, there'd still be other things then. Other things would be at the top of the list that we think of as being the worst, that are still causing pain and suffering and heartache in the world. And so we'd want God to come and deal with those. And so God would come and he'd deal with those things. But then there'd be other things at the top of the list that we'd look at it until the point where it comes to all of those things that we do. And everybody else would be standing around and pointing at us and saying, that's God, we want you to come and deal with them. With all the pain and the heartache that they've caused. I think back over my own life and think of the pain that I've caused other people at times. We were out, it's when we lived in Cyprus, we were miles away from anywhere, and we sat in a little Greek taverna one night, and this family came in, and I looked across, and I'm sure I know that woman from school. And Cassandra, our daughter, was with us, and she said, oh, that's my friend, that's her mum. I said, I don't suppose you know her mum's name, do you? She told me her mum, and I realised this was somebody I knew at school, and I just felt so embarrassed because I remembered how I used to torment that girl at school, how horribly I treated her. And I kind of didn't want her to see me, I was just ashamed. The heartache that I caused another person. Sometimes when I think about how I treated my children, I think of some of the things that I've said in moments of anger and rashness, and things that I've said that have hurt my children, that they still remember. There's going to come a point where we've got rid of all of those other things, where people are pointing at me and saying, God, you need to come and deal with Stuart. All that pain, all that heartache that he's caused in his life. All the times he's upset people. I want God to come and deal with sin. There comes a point where we have to recognise, we are sinners. We've caused pain. We've caused heartache. And Genesis chapter 6 shows us how God views all human sin, as wicked and in need of his intervention. And verse 5 really is just such a sad indictment of human depravity. The Lord saw how great man's wickedness on earth had become, and that every inclination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil all of the time. That's not what God is just saying about these people on here, the people who do that. That is what God is saying about me. About the things I've done. Heart is only evil all of the time. From God's holy and perfect perspective, we are all wicked. And the thoughts of our heart are only evil all of the time. We think that real sins deserve punishment. Those sins that I don't do, those sins that I could never imagine myself doing. God says all sin is in need of my punishment. All sin needs me to come and deal with it. Elsewhere in the Bible, God says that even our apparently righteous acts, even those good things that we do, those things that we think will hope to balance things off a little bit, God says even the right things you do are like filthy rags. Jesus said that if we get angry with other people, we've got murder in our hearts. We've all got angry with other people. Every one of us here has got angry with other people. God says you've got murder in your heart. Jesus said if you look lustfully at another person, you're an adulterer. If we have ever taken anything that wasn't ours, we're a thief. If we've ever said something that wasn't true, we're a liar. And you can't offset that by doing good things. Murderous, adulterous, lying cheats in God's eyes. I remember a few weeks ago I had little Esso up here with me, like my daughter's stuffed tiger that's now been handed on to my grandson. And we noted that in terms of doing all the stuff that tigers do, hunting and killing and roaring, and actually this little stuffed tiger was pretty useless. Totally incapable of doing the things that we expect of a tiger. So we want a God who will deal with sin. Of course we want a God who will deal with sin. A God who would stand by and let people be killed and tortured without stepping in to deal with that is no kind of God at all, but that's got to be a real God. And the words of our real God say that yes, he will deal with sin, all sin. All of it. Including ours. Because every time we sin, no matter how little a thing we might think it is, in some way we're causing hurt and pain somewhere in the world. Those people who we hurt, God loves them. And because he loves them, he hates that sin that hurts them. grieves him to see how we're using vast amounts of resources and destroying the world, how we're storing up masses of food here in the West and being incredibly greedy with it while people starve in other parts of the world, how we're living in luxury and not helping those in need, how every thoughtless word, every thoughtless action hurts somebody around us, somebody in our family, somebody at work. It grieves him that we hurt. Verse 9, the Lord was grieved that he had made man on earth, and his heart was filled with pain. God said, I can't leave that unpunished. I can't not deal with that. I'm a real God. Not a mental imposter. I'm a real God. And it grieves me when people get hurt, and I'm going to deal with that. Just look how God deals with sin. If we have any doubts about the seriousness of sin, look at verse 7. I will wipe mankind whom I have created from the face of the earth. God's going to wipe it out. And I know, perhaps to us that sounds over the top. When we look at the things that we've done and we don't think they seem that serious. And we think totally destroying the earth, wiping out humanity because of these things that I've done. It doesn't look as though the punishment is fitting the crime. This appears to be completely over the top. But there's one word that in the Hebrew runs through this passage. It's kind of there in the English. You have to hunt for it a little bit. It's much more obvious in the Hebrew. Verse 11, it says, the earth was corrupt in God's sight. Verse 12, God saw how corrupt the earth had become, for the people on earth had corrupted their ways. That Hebrew word translated corrupt or corrupted might be translated ruined or destroyed or polluted. Our sin is a corruption, a pollution of everything that God wants. It has ruined our relationship with God. It's ruined everything that God wanted for us. The whole of creation is being ruined because of our sin. Our punishment should fit the crime. We have ruined our relationship with God. We have ruined this earth. We have ruined creation that God gave us. And at the end of verse 13, our translation uses the word destroy. It's actually the same Hebrew word. Why it translates it differently in two different verses, I don't know. It's the same Hebrew word. God said to Noah, I'm going to put an end to all the people, for the earth is filled with violence. Because of them, I am surely going to destroy, it's the same word, corrupt, ruin, them and the earth. See, the punishment does fit the crime. We've ruined creation. We've ruined our relationship with God. We've ruined the lives of other people. God is going to ruin us. That's the bad news. But there's good news. The good news is that in spite of all that, God makes a way for us to come to Him, to restore that relationship that has been ruined by sin, and to be saved from His judgment. But we have to come to Him His way, not our own way. In verse 14, God speaks to Noah And he said that there is a way that he and his family can escape that ruining that is coming, that destruction that's coming. God says there's a way that you can escape. But listen, you've got to do exactly what I tell you, down to the tiniest detail. And over the next few verses, God outlines exactly how that ark was to be built. Exactly how the door was to be put inside. Exactly how God was going to bring all the animals to him so that they could go on the ark. How he and his family had to enter the ark and then God would close the door. God says you can be saved, but you've got to do it this way. My way. There's no other way. It's so easy to think that we can come to God on our own terms. We're so used to negotiating. But we're so used to sort of trading with people and offsetting good against bad. And so we think we can do that with God. That we can come to him and negotiate. That we can come to him our way. And isn't the world telling us now, everybody, you've got to do things your way. You've got to be your own person, do things that are right for you. We think we can take that worldly attitude and take it to God and say, God, I'm going to come to you and I'm going to come my way. Because this is who I am. And I can't change. We think we can come and negotiate. Oh, I'll be good from now on and I'll try to get rid of those really bad sins and not do them again. Or we come to God and we try to negotiate. Well, God, yeah, I have done some things wrong, but look at all these good things I've done. Look at all these nice things. Doesn't that offset it? Can't we do a bit of trade here, God? I'm going to go to church every Sunday and trust that God will have mercy on me. God says, no, you can't do it your way. Do it my way. If we want to be saved from his judgment, we must come to him his way. Noah had to build the ark exactly how God told him to. So it is with us. One day, we don't know when, the Bible's very clear that we can't know when. One day, Christ is going to return. When he does, God is going to destroy not just the earth, but the whole of creation by fire. The universe is going to be rolled up. And just as he told Noah that there was only one way to escape that destruction that came in his day, so he's warned us there's only one way to escape that destruction that's going to come when Jesus returns. But he has told us what it is. He doesn't keep it a secret. For God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish, but have eternal life. For God did not send his Son into the world to condemn the world, but to save the world through him. Whoever believes in him is not condemned. But whoever does not believe, we like to stop there. We like to stop with that reading. But it goes on. Whoever does not believe stands condemned already, because they have not believed in the name of God's one and only Son. Our God is a very real God. He is a God of justice. He is a God who deals with sin. He does not let sin go unpunished. But how will our sin be punished? God will either deal with our sin by transferring it to Jesus Christ, by saying, I'm going to let Jesus pay the price of all of your sin. If you come to him and you seek forgiveness and you genuinely repent, Then all my anger at your sin, it will still be there. Your sin will still be dealt with, but it will be dealt with in Jesus. There's a way out. Or he says, if you don't do that, then you're going to have to face that anger for yourself. And you will face that eternal destruction. Just as there was for Noah, there is for us one way, and only one way, of escaping the destruction that was to come. Finally, just a little thought about righteousness. Verse 9 says that Noah was a righteous man. Noah was saved because God declared Noah to be righteous. We tend to think of righteousness as being about doing good things. A righteous person is one who does good things. And that would kind of seem to fit with the fact that Noah's the only one who's saved. But there's a problem with thinking that in terms of Noah. Because we discover later, actually Noah is not a good person. Certainly not by God's standards. After the flood, we read of Noah getting drunk and laying naked on the floor, and there are hints there that actually something far more sinister took place between him and his son. By God's standards, Noah was not good, sinless. The Bible tells us that we have all fallen short of God's standards. How could Noah or anybody else be righteous if it depended on being good? It can't. It must mean something else. The word righteous in the Bible simply means in a right relationship with God. Somebody declared righteous is in a right relationship with God. Noah was in a right relationship with God because he trusted God and he trusted God's plan of salvation that God revealed to him. Noah was righteous because God declared him to be righteous. And God declared him to be righteous because he had that faith in God and a faith in God's salvation plan. We ain't ever going to be righteous because of our good behaviour. Not by God's standards. But we can be in a right relationship with God and therefore declared to be righteous by God. If we, like Noah, put our faith completely in his revealed plan of salvation for us. If we come to Jesus Christ, say, I believe that you are God the Son who died on a cross to pay for my sin. If we admit that we have no right to come before God because of that sin, so will you forgive me? Jesus who died for me on that cross, will you forgive me? Will you welcome me as a fellow son of God? Help me to stop doing those things that I've done wrong. We follow that plan of salvation that God has laid out. We will be declared righteous by God. Imagine that. Being declared righteous by God. We're brought into a right relationship with God because we've come by that one and only way that it's possible to come to God. We've followed that only way that God has made available to avoid the just punishment that God is going to bring against sins. Because he will deal with sin. He is a real God. He is a just God. He will deal with all of that sin that grieves him, that causes people pain. We can have salvation through faith in a God who died in our place so that we could be his children. Thank you, God, for Jesus Christ. Thank you for that offer of righteousness and salvation for all who come to you through him. Amen.